Thank you for joining me for this episode. Today, we're going to be talking about operating with a virtual team on the OI show. Thanks again for joining me. My name is Dave Kading. I'm excited to share with you a concept that I get asked about a lot and am finding that more and more practitioners are curious about and are wanting more information about. And that is, how do you utilize a virtual team in your practice? And what are the avenues around that? How do you find them? How do you hire them? How do you train them? What equipment do you need? What do you need to do to accomplish this? And while I still have a lot to learn, we've been doing this for over a year in our practice. And I've been operating with a marketing virtual team for about 8 or 9 years. But bringing this into our practice really happened as a necessity. So I'd like to review with you a little bit about why, a little bit about how, and a little bit about how you can go about doing this in your practice. So let's start off with why. Several years ago, as we were closing out the pandemic, we just were struggling, like all of you, in hiring team members to come in and get back to work. And I realized that it was probably not going to be something that was going to go away or change. And so as a result of that, we started looking into virtual teams. I'd heard of other people using virtual teams in their office. And we thought, hey, this is a great idea. A couple of years ago, our billing person ended up moving, and I said, no, you're not allowed to quit. And she moved out of state, but we kept her virtually working with us. And we learned a lot in that process stateside, and have worked with other companies to do phone answering or doing some of our billing, and that was all virtual. And realizing that because those people were not employees of my office, they were operating in they were operating not as part of my team under my mission and vision. And so what I wanted to find, is there a way that we can tie people back into the office, but yet have it be affordable, right? I don't mind paying a really going rate for somebody who's crushing it in the work that they're doing. But the problem was, we were struggling to hire people. We were struggling to have people show up to an interview. We were struggling to have people who were even qualified applicants. And we really set the bar low. So we started looking into the companies that were available. The most common two that are out there, and there are others, and I will miss some of them, are companies called HelloRach, and then also Talk2, and that's TAWK.TO, and that's their website as well. And those two companies are staffing services, if you may. Those companies are both, as far as I know, based in the United States. And so from a HIPAA perspective, you can have business agreements with them. And then they will go out and look for people that will be able to join your team. Technically, they are employed by those staffing agencies rather than by you in your practice. But really, you're talking with the patient, with those people on a regular basis. So as far as finding, there are staffing services that are out there. My recommendation is to interview the applicant on your own. And the vast majority of the successful virtual people are either coming from India or the Philippines. And we've had greater success with the Philippines. It's a incredibly they're incredible with their English, and their accents are fantastic. They speak very, very effectively, and it's very easy to understand them. And so we've interviewed a lot of people from the Philippines, very qualified individuals. I'd had a university trained architect who worked with us, a pharmacist, not myself, but other people have had nurses and, occupational therapists and so forth. And then these people find that they can make more money doing virtual work. And they love doing it in the healthcare arena. So we interviewed several people, and we now have about 8 or 9 people, I lose track, that are working with us virtually. And if you just step back and close your eyes and ask yourself, what are the things that get done in my practice that do not require a person physically face to face with a patient? And those are the things that a virtual person can do. And to some degree, you could even have it so that they would be virtually, but talking with a patient. There are some offices, not mine, that may have a virtual person greet you as you walk in the door and have you sign in. And then the technician or the optician would then come and get you set up. They could ask you to take the iPad that's sitting on the desk and, fill out the paperwork and so forth. Scribing is definitely one thing that is commonly used. Answering the phone, and then billing and doing accounts receivable. Those are all some of the things that can be done virtually and that we have had done in our practice. So in the hiring process, one of the things I would encourage you to do is to hire several people for the same job, especially as you're getting started in this. That may seem a little intuitive because you want to try this out and see what you think. But in the process of hiring and training, you're going to find that some people are more qualified and, are going to pick up on it way better and way faster than others. And so as a security, it may be beneficial to have two people doing the job for a period of time. And one person may end up being better at scribing, and another person may be better in answering the phone, but you may not know that. And if you hire somebody just to do one task, and they're not very successful at it, you'll quickly burn out on virtual people and decide that you want to go a different direction. I would encourage you to think about these people as real people. They're coming to work every day and they're having a job, but they're working virtual. And if you're not used to working with people that are virtual, you can easily get frustrated, right? In your office, if you have a new staff member and they have a question, they're able to ask the person right next to them and, have a conversation at lunch about what's happening in the office. This virtual person doesn't get that. And unless you set up that person as part of your team, just like everybody else, they can ask questions, they can go to somebody, they can pick up the phone and call somebody or have a Zoom conversation. It can be easy for you to not treat them as a real person. So having meetings on a regular basis is something I think is really key. Of course, from a scribing standpoint, our doctors are having conversations with our scribes on a daily basis. Having sitting down in between patients and having a little conversation about what's happening in their life, what's going on. I've got one of our amazing team members. She's got, something happening with her family, and right. Well, how can I help? Right. That's, an opportunity for us to be like, well, you've done a great job for us. Let me bump in a little bit extra money for what's going on in your life and what's happening in your family, like I would do with any other staff member if they're struggling with something. So a big key in that. And when you are doing training, set aside one key team member who is in charge of that person's training. We developed an entire training manual. We have those for our in-person staffs, but how is that different for this virtual person? Are there videos you need to have them watch? Is there, a training related to your EHR that they need to take? Is there training around a specialty that they could take? Is there, you may be part of an organization, we're part of Vision Source. And so we have, training videos that are put out for Vision Source doctors. And so that works really well for that virtual person to be able to be a part of. So the training is a really big part of it. And I would encourage, again, that you train 2 or 3 people at once. And if you're going to go in on virtual people, go all in. Realize that just as if you had hired 3 staff members in your office, one of them may not last 3 months, either because of poor performance or because they didn't get along with how well they were treating patients or something. And you don't know that until you hire somebody. And that happens with virtual. I will say that happens less often with virtual than some of the people that we've hired somewhat recently. The virtual people tend to be very prompt. They show up to work almost every day. We don't see issues with behavior or with these people being unprofessional. They do a really, really good job with that. And there's a lot of other things as far as training, right? So these people, number one is English isn't their first language. So there's a little bit of a language barrier. So you may find that you've told a joke with the patient, and the scribe writes it down in the chart because they didn't know that it was a joke or that it was a current event. So those are things that you need to work through with them. And then also medical terminology, right? They've not been in the medical field or may not have ever been in the medical field. And so you're training like you would be training a new staff member, but you're also having to train because they're virtual, that they can't see it. They can't, get that perspective the same way. So the last thing I want to talk about is some of the equipment, and some of the things that you may want to choose to do as far as physically having these people be a part of it. Number one is you need to make sure you're using a voice over IP phone system. If you are still using a landline that is connected with wires and so forth, you may struggle a little bit with connecting with them, because if you have them answering the phone, then you want to be able to have them answer the phone virtually. And that is something that is a big, big thing. And working through being able to have the phone system work across countries is something that's not able to do with all over voice over IPs. We've had success with Ring Central in our office, and I know there's other people who have had other success. We historically used Weave, but Weave does not do a good job as of this recording going across country lines. And so we had to switch out of Weave for that reason. Next is having a physical connection with the person, and that is in our minds best done through Zoom. You can also use Google Hangouts or some sort of a video recording. FaceTime is done in some offices. We've found that the minimal cost for an additional Zoom account that can last, the whole day is a great way to have the patient and the scribe be face-to-face throughout the day. You could do an audio recording, but that doesn't tend to work really well. It's just over the phone is what I mean. But I think the face-to-face is a really good thing, so that the patient can see that there's a person there who's working on the computer. In our office, we have the scribe do a screen connect. So when we walk into the room with our scribe, they connect right into the screen that is right in front of us, and I can see them moving their mouse. And that way, I can jump in and I can adjust something or change something, or one of our technicians can do that and modify what the scribe is writing or what was written or the spelling of something. And then we go from there. There is obviously going to be a learning curve, and our scribe that has been with us for a year is far better than those that have been with us for 3 months. And yet even the one that's been with us for a year, the doctors still do need to make some modifications. You're not getting a person that has been trained in scribing that is able to do this. They haven't gone to school for a couple of years to do their scribing, and so it's going to take them a little while. And then, having something where they can chat quickly, like a Google Chat or GChat or even iMessage, is another resource that you may want to be thinking about. Hopefully this has given you a little bite and a little idea of what you can do in the virtual space. There's an incredible value that these amazing individuals in the Philippines or across the world can bring to you. And I would highly encourage you look into them as a source to bring additional value to your patients and to your practice. And when we can do more episodes on virtual, if it's something that you would like, you can reach out to us at Optometric Insights on social and let us know what you think, or connect with me at Dave Kading and ask me questions, and we can see if this topic gets a little bit deeper. But thank you for joining us for this episode. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll be anxious to share more information with you on the OI show.